Welcome back to Doing Bart Things, and today we're going to run through some news real quick. We got leak big time for the 8800 XT. We got some other video card stuff going on. I wanted to look at what's going to compete with Nvidia's 5000 series, right? So what's going to be the competition? What's that going to look like? Well, the 8800 XT is basically, think of not the 4090, leave the 4090 out of it, but think of the 4080, the 4080 Super, the 4070 Ti Super, the 7900 XT, and the 7900 XTX, okay? So if you think of that level of performance, right, what the 8800 XT, at least if that's what they call it, they may call it something else, what it's possibly going to do is it's going to take that level of performance, it's going to bring it down to 500 to 550 bucks, okay? So all in all, that's not bad. That's actually pretty decent. I think it will be competitive, certainly with a 5070, because I think your 5070 is going to be right in or about a 4070 Ti Super, roughly. 4070 Super, maybe. Something like that. And it will be 600 bucks probably. So this is going to be a pretty direct competitor to that, and I think it will beat it if that's the case. I don't know if Nvidia cares. I don't know if they care. I say that because they're basically going to say, well, look at how awesome our software is, right? And you should buy our deal anyway. Ignoring the fact that, there's still a performance that needs to be met, to run some of that software. That was the funny thing about releasing lower end ray tracing cards is I'm like, when am I ever going to run ray tracing on a 4060? Come on, let's think about this. But that's where this card more than likely is going to fall. And again, this is all rumor mill. These are leakers, right? And as we get closer to release, they will get slightly more and more accurate. But I think this is probably going to land somewhere between a 7900 XT and a 7900 XTX. The ray tracing is going to be way better on this card than either one of those two mentioned. So basically, it's kind of like a 4080, 4070 Ti Super, 4080 level of performance with a much reduced price. That's the hope. If that's the case, I do think it will compete decently in this generation with the 5070s and the 5070 Ti. Now, 5080, 5090, again, forget those. You need to save up double the money if you want one of those, right? Just go ahead and accept that now. That there is not going to be any competition. Nvidia is basically competing with themselves and basically saying, the 4080 is going to cost 60-70% of the amount of money that the 4090 costs, but it's only going to be about half the performance or something like that. It'll be something crazy. There's a big gap between the 4080 and the model numbers. There's a giant gap between the 5080 and the 5090. So just understand that. And this, unfortunately, isn't going to do anything to help that situation out. But in that realm where people buy most of their video cards, it'll help. So hopefully that's good. There's another leak that Seasonic did that literally says the 8800 is only going to take 220 watts. Man, if that's the case, woo, that's good. That's really good. You can do 600 watt PSU, 550 watts, something like that, and probably get by okay. So that's pretty impressive. And I think it says somewhere, 2 times 8 pin, totally good with me. Totally good with me. So that's another, kind of like good thing. If the performance is what we think it is, right? And this is a 8800 XT. We don't know if that's what the top end model is going to be called. Maybe, probably. There could also be an 8800 XTX, for example. Don't know. And that's basically what AMD's got coming. it's a little positive, but then at the same time a little negative. Again, the 5080 and the 5090 are just out there on their own. The 5070 Ti may even be out there on its own. It may be the fastest card in some sort of reasonable price range ish that you could purchase. It'll be the same as the 4070 Ti Super in price or more, but that's that's where we're at. So what about Intel? Does Intel have anything? Well, they've got the B580 and the B570, and I can tell you, just from this price point, $250, man, it's not looking good. It's not looking good in my opinion. $250 is the top end model right now that they're going to release. Rumored, obviously, pinch of salt. And then they're going to release a B570, which isn't as high, which isn't on the same level as the 580, right? It's the lesser model, lesser cores, or fewer cores. Probably have like 10 gigs of VRAM, which kudos to them for at least including 10 and then 12 on the 249 one. I do not have any high hopes for these. They're going to be competing against the 4060 supposedly. That does not shape up to work very well against the 8000 series from AMD. You're going to get cut down versions of the 48 Navi 48, right, a little bit. So that's a little bit concerning for them. And this may be one reason why this guy is retiring. So things kind of come full circle. I'm not shocked by this at all. I knew things were going to have to get shooken up there in order for this company to move forward. I actually am shocked that they're not bought yet. After this launch, it's just, it honestly, they've devalued themselves from the last CPU launch they had. This video card launch isn't going to help them because they basically have. Arc is just, it's there. Like they've got some fab and things that they've got to try to make money off of, but a lot of it's been canceled. The upper end models of cards have been canceled. So, yeah, I don't think it's not looking good for Intel right now. They need to sort out their problems with the and make Arrow Lake actually good. Is basically where they're stuck, right? I wish they would do a graphics card and do it properly, because they absolutely could have made a potential dent in the market, but they needed to realize that it's going to take some catch up because AMD and Nvidia have been in that space for so long. It's really hard to break in, right? So, you hope, man, I wish they could just stay in. But the problem is, as gamers, we're really dumb, right? I say that because I'm one of them, right? We go, oh, well, that's cool. Our favorite video card will drop in price if they release competition. It's like, you don't understand. If you're not going to buy that card, why should they make them? That's what ends up happening, right? And Arc actually started to get kind of good. They fixed some drivers and stuff. So it started to really be like a lot more reasonable to go out and get an Arc card. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with somebody doing it today. Some of the professional apps they actually do pretty well at, but the drivers probably still aren't quite as there with AMD and Nvidia just yet, and their hardware is not there as much either, and it's really not going to be there with this next launch, because in order to have any sort of chance, they had to go and release it at the top model being $250. Maybe it'll perform better than I think, right? But it just seems like a lot of the things I've been seeing, they're targeting like the 4060, which is going away pretty soon. Maybe the next 5 months. We'll have a 5060 launch or announcement, and that'll be faster than the 4060. So, well, maybe. I don't know. The 3060 and the 4060, I don't know. Maybe this is a good play. Maybe. But the AMD option is going to be pretty strong in comparison to that, I think. So who knows? Who knows how that's going to play out? I think Arc is kind of dead at this point, and due to just not having the company having problems like this guy's gone, so no more Pete Gelsinger. Maybe they can get what was it, Keller back? I'm trying to think. Ron Keller. I forget now what the guy's name is, but the guy who was working on some of their chips, who's a really known in the industry. I want to say he was part of Ryzen when it was being developed. Intel hired him, and then he left because he's like, this is dumb with all the office politics that were going on, and he just wanted to get stuff done and didn't like it, supposedly. So, maybe they can attract some of that talent back and then get back in the driver's seat. I just don't know if they're going to do that before they get sold or merged or something like that is really what it boils down to. AMD came back from a really dark place. I'm not saying Intel can't. I'm just saying I don't know how likely it is. That's all I'm saying. And definitely not with releases like this. They're gonna have to step it up for the consumer market, probably for the server market too. So anyway, well, there you are, guys. That's the video. So this is kind of a depressing look at the competition for Nvidia. If you listened all the way through for like this 11 and a half minutes or so, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you would. Leave a comment if you would. The big thing that I want you to take away as far as what you can expect more than likely, if you're shopping mid to low end, you will have some options, okay, which is good. The super high end, though, or what we'd consider, the really high end, I think it's going to be just, it's Nvidia. They're going to run out there all by themselves, and you're going to have to pay a lot of money if you want the privilege of owning a 5080 or a 5090. It's going to be really expensive. I predict the 5070 Ti will fall, it'll still be under $1,000, but it's going to be that $800-900 category, I'm guessing. And then the real competition starts right about where the 5070 is, because that's where AMD's offering will fall. There'll be some more competition down lower end with Intel there, but that normal $500 to $800 range is usually where people upgrade, I think, these days. And that's going to be where AMD and Nvidia fight it out. There will be no other, in my opinion, real competition in the market. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. It's probably going to be a little bit like that until about 2026, when the next generation, we'll call it RTX 6000, and AMD releases the 9 or 10,000, whatever GPUs they call them, the next line of Radeon, and we don't know if exactly. It should be RDNA 5 would be what was supposed to be up, but it could be UDNA, and we maybe get into what that means in a different video. But essentially, it's AMD merging a lot of their architecture together, which would ultimately, I think, be really good, because it would definitely offset the cost of producing high-end GPUs. And everybody's crazy about AI anyway, so their same GPUs would go to both causes, basically. So it's one stream of money going into making many more products, and I think ultimately that would really help them with creating GPUs for multiple things instead of just AI, server, whatever GPUs, and then a totally separate lane making consumer GPUs. So here's hoping. Anyway, all right. Thank you guys. Have an awesome one, and we'll be talking to you in the next one.